Welcome back to This Was Supposed to Be Easy, your go-to podcast for connection, joy, and a good dose of laughter.
Hosted by two friends who've seen enough of life to know that it's never as simple as it sounds
or looks.
Each conversation celebrates the diverse journeys we travel, the moments of bravery, the strength we didn't know we had, and the joy we find along the way.
Because let's be honest, life is full of things that were supposed to be easy, but turned out to be harder.
And definitely funnier
than we thought. This is Amy.
And this is Cheryl. And if it were easy, we wouldn't be here. If you're listening on release day, this is our final episode of 2025. So we are airing this on New Year's Eve, but please hear me say that it doesn't mean that's the only time that today's topic makes sense. We started this conversation about wintering in our last episode, number 42. And really, as we think about the new year, really just want to take this opportunity to think more gently about the wintering kinds of ways to move forward. I myself, and I know Amy agrees, we're not super fans of New Year's Eve resolutions or New Year's resolutions and the pressure that they bring and the failure that hear the statistics say, most people make it to day 7 or day 13 or whatever the magic number is.
Day two.
Day 2. Okay.
Let's be real.
Right. But it's like there's so much focus on big plans or doing this thing or not doing this thing. And then there's like this, like day 2, I failed kind of sort of sensation. And so that's the piece I don't love about New Year's resolution. But at the same time,
me either. Not a fan.
Totally. At the same time, I really do love this quiet space that wintering and the end of year brings to allow us to reflect or encourage us to reflect and dream and consider the feelings that are such a part of those dreams. And so I'm hopeful, Amy, that today we can finish the conversation about those quieter areas of feeling motivated as we move into this new year.
So, I'm excited about this conversation because I think last week we really talked about the reflection of the year before. Mm-hmm. And then I really see this conversation as being moving into, that next year. And so where you've been, but now where are you going?
Exactly. And you've done bingo cards more than I have. Last year was my first year to do a bingo card. We've talked about this. I learned a lot about the process and what I think I want to try this year. But bingo card isn't the magic word even, right? Like it could be a bingo card for the whole year. It could be a bingo card for a season. It could be a vision board of those feelings and things that you hope to maybe see in your life at some point in this next year or by the end of a season. I just love this opportunity to think about what I might want to accomplish or even try to gift to myself without it being a thing that I'm going to do every single day and then fail at day 2.
Yes. And I like that too. So last year was actually my first year of doing the bingo cards as well. And it was funny because my kids said this year when we were talking, they were like, we're going to do that again, right? We're going to do the bingo cards again. I really liked it. In fact, 2 out of the 3 said that. So we have it all planned out. But one of the things I have done for multiple years now is the wishes ritual. And that is setting intentions through a series of wishes that you want to have come to your life. And I have done that. This is the 3rd year. And what all of these things do that I think is so important, it's not that any of them are new and it's the magical witchy thing that's going to happen, but it is setting intentions, right? It's the way to set intentions. But I think too, what's important about it is we're not great at setting those kind of midterm, I almost call them midterm goals. Like those goals that are going to take the year to actually come about. Like we're really good at thinking about our immediate goals and what we want to have happen in the next day, week, month, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we're really good at long term, but I feel like we don't do enough of the checking in at the year mark. And also almost that idea of if it didn't happen immediately or if it didn't happen exactly as I thought it was, or it doesn't look exactly like I thought it was going to look, then it didn't happen. And
Mm.
so what we really want to do here and what we did in the reflection piece was what showed up differently. And so then we talked a little bit about that, but now in the intention of setting those new goals, those new thoughts, those new plans for the year, what do we know it needs to look like in some capacity? And what would we be okay? And then what feels too limiting? What feels like dreaming bigger? Kind of an
Mhm.
idea of what feels like it has the opportunity to be even more. And so by putting something specific on it might even feel like holding it back.
Interesting. As you say that, I'm looking at last year's bingo card, and I feel like I did bits and pieces of all of that, and I'm going to right now give myself permission to hear what you just said, and maybe do that again, I guess, right? Like I think it's okay for that big goal or hope, but how could I word it so that it's open to growing in ways I hadn't thought about it?
Hmm.
And also, for the sake of feeling motivation, what are the baby steps that might move me in that direction? And can I put some of those baby steps on my bingo card so that I feel that sense of achievement, I guess?
So in my family, there was a lot of debate over what you exactly just mentioned
Okay.
because so as we've talked about, we frequent South Carolina a lot. We have our place down there. And Jeremy, my husband, said that he wanted to visit South Carolina 4 times. And so he put visit South Carolina 4 different squares
Yeah,
on his bingo card, where I think I put 3 times, but it was all one square.
exactly.
And so then it became the discussion, and he's like, "No, I need some successes." Like he's
Yes.
like, "Then at least I know I'm crossing these out." So I think too, it's what works for you. Like with a bingo card, we had what? It was a 4 by 5, so it was 20 squares. If you have 30
Mine
things
was
you
five. Five by
Okay,
five
5
was
by 5.
mine.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay, alright, so yes, oh, yep, mine was too, so 25. But if you have 30 things you wanna do, you might need to combine down in some squares, or if you're looking going like, "Yeah, I only really have 20 things," then maybe you need to write out those steps for some immediate success. And also, though, how cool is it, though, to be able to award yourself the success of the steps into the big goal, to know that, like, "Yeah, I'm doing it," like, and it might not come to full fruition, but man, I took some real steps to get that much closer.
Yes. So, I mean, I think the end story there is your approach might be different than Jeremy's approach. And you listen to each other with, I'm going to say the word, curiosity.
Yes, yes.
And it might shift your card that you're about to create for next year. And it might not, but the beauty is it's yours, right?
Right.
You get to do it the way that you want to do it. And as I think about wintering, I'm even thinking about, first of all, I'm going to think about some categories, right? So last episode, we talked about categories of resting. It made me think about categories, maybe even in my life, that I want to consider and spend a little time thinking about how am I feeling in this category of my life? Maybe it's my personal development, maybe it's my relationships, maybe it's my finances. How am I feeling right now? What might make me feel good or better? And how could that look like a square on my bingo card, right? So there might even be some squares on my bingo card that are about protecting my energy or my space, my workspace, or something like that.
Yeah. I like that. I didn't think about it in that way, but I do think especially if you're struggling to come up with what, to put on a card, because really one of the things I always say I'm going to do, and let me tell you I've never done it because I'm I'm not a planner. I want to be a planner. I believe in planning. And then when it sometimes comes down to it, I shouldn't say I'm not a planner. I am
I'm
a
a
planner.
planner, not a doer. I mean, I'm a doer
Yes. Yeah.
too.
I'm a wishy-washy planner, like basically.
I have lots of dreams.
Yes. And I think to myself, what's going on in my mind the day of that I'm making this card? But, or every time I do something, I always want to say, I need like a month of carrying a notebook around, which I do carry a notebook around all the time to just jot down like when life happens and I want to make a goal on it, let's say on December 13th, that I can jot that down so I remember it when I'm actually writing out the squares on the 31st.
Mhm.
Because there's a lot of life lived in between the 13th and the 31st, and I don't always remember what it was that I wanted to do. But it felt really right in the moment, not right in my space 3 weeks later. So I like the idea, though, of breaking it into almost like the categorical style of wishes or planning or intentions when you're going to write those out. And the idea of putting them along with the idea of what you might need resting with in some way, I can really see where that works, and that is a way to spend your time or split your time.
Yeah. As I look down at my bingo card, I'm laughing, still laughing because my center square, it's the freebie, right? So I just put my birthday on it, like turning 53 last year. I
Right.
was like, yes, at least one thing happened.
Well, and I like that. My middle one said a fun thing that the universe wants me to know. Now, I don't know what that was that
Ooh.
the universe wanted me to know, but that's what it felt right in the moment. So I don't know. I feel like I learned a lot of different things this year.
And
So
you
we'll
do. I
see.
mean, you're the friend, right? You're the friend that knows a lot of things.
A lot of random, a lot of
We
randoms.
can propose a topic and see what Amy knows about it. And
Right.
so, I mean, how beautiful that your center square was to continue learning new things.
Well, and learning is usually, well, I think this year when I retook the VIA character strength,
Mhm.
because I did just take it again recently for some work thing that I was doing. And I think learning this year was number two, where
Yeah.
last year I think learning might have been one as I was getting prepped for graduate school. This year, number one was love, which was really
Mm.
interesting because love hasn't shown up in my top five before. I think it's been in like six or seven, but
Yeah.
this year love was number one. And knowledge or wisdom, or knowledge was two, or love of learning was two, and then knowledge or wisdom was three.
I'm going to do a little diagnosing here, Amy.
Okay.
I suspect that because of your passion for learning and knowledge and wisdom, and for the people around you, especially your family and close friends, that very likely, since so much of your time this year had to be dedicated to learning and gaining knowledge and building knowledge, that maybe when you retook the survey this time around, you felt that urgency for, and my family and the people I love.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I think that it probably was, like that yearning to make sure that that still was a priority for you probably surfaced when you were redoing your survey. How's that for a diagnosis?
I like it. I like it. It's a good one. I mean, you are the expert in that category, so I definitely I will take whatever it is you say there. I don't know anybody that knows more about it, so it's good.
So we're getting ready to move forward. We're getting ready to move into that new year. We ourselves are thinking about our bingo cards or vision boards or, whatever it is that it might be for you. And I love thinking about moving forward and challenging that all or nothing kind of thinking. Like instead of it being a pass fail or I did it or I didn't do it, I want to challenge that all or nothing thinking. And even on last year's bingo card, I started putting hearts over the accomplishments because I could still then see the words below instead of like actually covering it up. I wanted to still see the words I had written. And there were a few where I put half a heart. I put one side of the heart because I thought this shouldn't be all or nothing. It should be, okay, I put myself on the path and I started moving down the path and maybe I didn't get to where I originally thought would be on that path. But I used that half heart to sort of say, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. Moving forward can look different.
It can, yeah.
And I've said before, permission to be human. It gives ourselves permission to show up less than perfect,
Yes.
as who we are. And you know me, I am passionate about my flowers and my flower seeds and starting them, and literally opened my brand new catalog, and the total was $199 when I was done circling all the seeds that I want to
You
start
kept you
in.
kept it under 200.
I
Whoop
I
whoop.
did. I did without even keeping track in the process, right? But I could see categories emerging. I could see the edible flowers. I could see these flowers will thrive in poor soil so they can go in front of my cottage. I had all of these categories showing themselves to me, but as I think about all I want to do with the ground and with flowers, and yes, I have Kevin's to-do list now has a few more flower table gardening beds that I need built before the true outdoor season begins. But I think a lot of this next season that's going to emerge as I move through wintering and think about coming out of wintering is staying connected and keeping things alive, right? Like what do I want to nurture and offer care and attention to, and be present with them in that moment that they're in, right? So right now with the seeds, it's looking at the pictures and thinking about them and circling them. And then it will be placing the actual order, because I haven't actually placed the order yet. But then it will be, what do I need to have ready so that I can plant them and watch them grow and then move them to the outdoors. I'm really enjoying that, almost redefining what it looks like to move forward.
Well, and it's perfectly aligned with what you were saying even last week about needing to be with nature, and that in the rest that you were talking about, you just really wanted to nurture and be with living things and kind of slow down your pace with all of that and play
Mhm.
in the dirt and make things, right? And I think
Yeah.
of growing flowers as making things in a big
Yes, me
way,
too.
especially the way that you use flowers, and you use your seeds for different things. I think of all of that. So it fits together perfectly. So do you think then that more of your goals this year will, or your intentions will be around those things? Do you feel like as you've been working maybe out in your head of what you need in the way of rest, that you could see that being reflected in your intentions for this upcoming year?
Absolutely. In fact, I've never done the word of the year, although I love reading people's social media posts about the words they selected and how that showed up for them. And I was thinking about that this morning and actually thought, if I was doing a word of the year, I think that 2026 might be making. And I don't know which word to throw in there. It all still centers around the earth and nature and things that come from the earth, the ground.
So nature and making.
Yeah, making with nature.
There you go. That works. Perfect.
Right. I,
Perfect.
I take my favorite word, cozy, and now it's cozy ground. And what's going to move forward with that cozy ground, right? So anyway, yeah, I'm thinking a lot about nature, as you said and pointed out to me, and the seasons and the resting. And I am a person who, my doctor just called me a high achieving woman. And I appreciated that. But at the same time, I was like, and to be that, there have to be seasons where it's not about becoming more. It's about
Mhm.
knowing myself and becoming truer.
I like that. I think that that's a great way to be reflective. So, as we're talking about this, what do we want our listeners to do with the information today? Like, we've kind of given them all of the pieces of the way of setting their intentions. And we've talked about being able to do it in multiple ways, in whatever ways feel right for them.
Mhm.
But what do we kind of want to send our listeners out with?
I'm feeling like offering this space and place and time for thinking about your direction, but not immediately jumping into the car and going 180 miles per hour. And I myself literally just came home from a long weekend vacation where I went to the Indy 500. I went to the Speedway, I went to the museum, I took a drive around the Speedway, but at 20 miles per hour. So I think that I'd like to offer our listeners this opportunity to think about direction without the speed yet, right? To hold it without urgency so that you truly can contemplate and know that you don't have to have this big beautiful master plan that's going to take up a whole wall of your office or whatever space it is and have that big energy yet, but that you could start to think about your intentions and use this quieter, darker time of the year, if you're in a place where it's darker this time of year, to start to think about those gentle structures or those honest expectations and just trust yourself to do what's right for you in a way that's right for you.
Yes, I like that. And I also think along with it that moving at a slower pace is still moving. And so when you are doing these things, don't think that as long as you're kind of keep working towards something, it's still amazing at the amount of distance you have covered when you go back and reflect, even if it wasn't at that speed that you were thinking it would be.
Mhm,
And so for individuals who are saying, that they're looking forward to wintering, but there's still so much life that happens that they have to do,
mhm.
that you can still do some of those things at that slower pace with some reflection in there and some hope and goals that you want to have kind of moved in there, but you don't have to do everything right now.
If I think about those categories of rest that we touched on briefly last episode, and I think that we'll make sure somewhere in our social media and on our website, there's a little more detail about those. There's this opportunity to, yes, I understand. I'm an empty nester. I don't have young children I'm driving, or even teenage children that I'm driving to all of the places right now. And those things have to happen, but how can we be gentle with ourselves, even if it's for 2 minutes, or saying, I can walk into this room and just shut the door and gift myself 5 minutes of silence? What gifts can we give ourselves that help this time, this season, to feel a little more gentle so that we can continue to move forward, feeling maybe a little more rested, a little more tended to and taken care of, that we're prepared for that moment when those seeds start to push through the soil and start to grow, and now I've got to do a little more work, to water them and tend them. I think I just want to offer people an opportunity to not add to their to-do list and not even think about their vision board or their bingo card or this season or whatever it is as all the things I have to get done. But is there an opportunity to reorient our focus?
Yes. And, I am in that phase where I'm driving all over Kingdom Come because of children. And
Yeah.
I will say that one of the things I found myself doing last night as I was going back out to pick up my youngest, I oddly enough, so I am the type of person that gets in the car and I almost always have a podcast going, a book that I'm listening to, music at a minimum, and I got in the car and I just didn't turn on anything.
Mm,
And I drove the 10 minutes to pick him up in silence. And it was actually really nice.
hmm.
And it does not happen often because usually, well, one, I'm rarely in the car alone, but two, if I am, then it's the books, the music, the podcasts, all those things. And so it was nice just to be quiet. And that to me felt like even the idea of wintering where it was just a little quieter.
Yeah. And it opens those doors to allow us to become who we are, who we're meant to be, what comes next is likely to grow out of giving ourselves that slower, emptier, quieter space.
So, with that, I think I would like to just take a minute and thank all of our listeners who were with us here in 2025. And we look forward to all the new listeners we will have in 2026. Thanks for tuning in to This Was Supposed to Be Easy. Remember, the best stories are the ones we live.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep the conversation going, because life may not be easy, but listening in should be.
Stay curious, stay connected, and keep wondering.